Understanding the main differences between all the ranks in Valorant will make it easier to climb from one rank to another. So today I'll make an in-depth video going over everything you need to improve to climb from Iron to Bronze, Gold to Plat, Immortal to Radiant, and all the ranks in between. We will of course start off with Iron. Now, even if you're in a higher rank, I strongly recommend watching through most of these ranks, as there are some hidden gems in terms of tips on a few of these. But naturally, I will of course also add video chapters in this video. So if you're someone playing at the very peak of competitive play, then feel free to skip ahead to wherever you feel like. Very typically, Iron players have no fundamental game understanding. They don't know what crosshair placement is, they have far away from optimal settings, and their general understanding of both how to play individually and as a team is highly flawed. Most of the same things can be said for Bronze players. Before we get into it, I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Buff Game. Buff is an authorized app of Overwolf with more than 15 million users and allows anyone to easily earn buff points that they can redeem on Buff's marketplace for things like Riot access codes, Steam credits, or even gaming hardware. The beauty of Buff is how easy it is to use. You don't have to do anything to earn other than simply running the app in the background whilst playing. The way they make money is through ads and their optional monthly subscription, so it's totally safe to use. There's no resource hogging, mining, or anything else fishy. The app is supporting a bunch of games like Valorant, League, Dota, and CS2. In addition to this, Buff has just introduced a special new Buff Pass exclusively for Roblox players, designed to enhance your gaming experience. The more you play, the more XP you earn, unlocking even bigger and better rewards, buff points, raffle tickets, profile pictures, and so much more. Boost your gameplay hours today and seize the opportunity to win big. Right now, Buff actually offers a 70 buff points extra for every user who signs up through our link. So check out Buff today at the top of the description or the pinned comments below and get 100 points instead of 30. What makes Bronze players that tiny bit better is that most Bronze players have started looking into the basics of the game. Bronze players understand crosshair placement, but aren't able to execute the fundamental to a high level. It's also typical that Bronze players understand that having a lower sensitivity will on average make the game quite a bit easier, as when you're a beginner specifically, you want to make sure you can control your mouse movements, and try to practice upon smooth and consistent aim. This is the way to make your practice effective. In other words, that you'll learn fast. For new players, mastering mouse control will be almost impossible with a high sensitivity, so forcing yourself to get on a low sense is an absolute must in the beginning, because your progress will undeniably be quicker this way. Bronze players very often also lack an understanding of what the different agents do. Most of the players down here have heard that Jett is supposed to be an entry fragging agent, and that Sage is supposed to play support and so forth, but very few understand how that actually works practically speaking. Players in this rank won't know how to give themselves good opportunities when entry fragging, or how to support to a high standard. You see, entry fragging with Jett is something that demands an okay level of mechanical skill. Being able to use the dash combined with the smokes and updraft will make you a very hard target to hit. And as a result, you can open sights for your team by playing to these abilities. And that is something that Silver players have started understanding. However, their execution of these plays is more often than not bad. In Silver, you will actually find players who fundamentally play a relatively okay game. Their crosshair placement is good, they understand how to communicate to an okay standard, and they may even occasionally set up plays for their teammates when playing with an agent that has flashes. However, Silver compared to the higher ranks often lacks movement specifically. Silver players very often make themselves easy targets to hit when taking a fight. They don't understand moving back and forth whilst shooting. They may have bad habits like spraying when tapping is better, crouching instantly as soon as they shoot their gun, or peeking angles when slow walking. The main flaw that I see from the majority of Silver players is that they have one extremely distinct weakness, and as previously mentioned, that is quite regularly movement, but it can also be a majority of other things. The beauty of having one distinct weakness rather than generally just having a low tier skill set is that you can recognize your one weakness and improve it and very quickly become many times better. So if you're currently a Silver player, then find that weakness and fix it, because trust me, you'll skyrocket up the ranks. Now, Gold players are very interesting. In this rank, you'll find all kinds of people. You'll find some players that are genuinely good at using utility, some that actually have impressive aim, and even players that here and there have some super solid calls. The main difference in Gold compared to Silver is that people will play more together when pushing a site and when retaking a site. Understanding how to play retakes and 5-man pushes is something that Gold players aren't good at, but this is the rank where people begin trying, and that counts for a lot in terms of ranked progress. Gold is also the rank where people typically begin going going out of their way to consistently play deathmatch or other variants of the game that aren't related to ranked to improve their individual skill. Playing deathmatch to get more reps in when it comes to aiming will help you improve your skill set much faster than just playing ranked. By playing deathmatch, you'll get in a lot of reps of aiming in only a few minutes of playing, whereas in ranked, you'll only get a few reps of trying to aim in the span of an entire game. Understanding how to make your practice more effective is something the majority of players understand and attempt to do in all following ranks from now on. Going up to the rank of Platinum, players often have one thing in common as to why they're not Diamond. Plat is without a shadow of a doubt the rank where you'll find the players with the worst possible mentalities. You make a mistake in Plat, your teammates will tell you exactly how bad you are. You lose a few rounds in a row, one of your teammates will say the words, "I start trolling." And that is one of the biggest differences between players who stay stuck in Plat and those who make it up to Diamond. If you're someone who's able to bring the team's mentality up in those brutal games in Plat, not only will you be able to come back a few of those games every now and then, but you'll also of course naturally have an easier time ranking up. Because trust me, if you get as mad as your teammates, you'll stay in Plat forever. Diamond is a rank where you can kind of get a breath of fresh air. Don't get me wrong, this is Valorant and there are still players with incredibly bad mentalities. However, in Diamond, you'll sometimes meet players who are super good at being critical of themselves. Players that reach this rank typically understand their own shortcomings to a higher extent than players in the previously mentioned lower ranks. This is a skill you must adapt if you ever want to get to Diamond and above. Because if you get stuck making excuses for when you die in a round or lose a game, you won't make your practice as effective as possible, and your improvement curve will stagnate. When you get to this rank, it's quite normal to play a bit more than before. What this, for many Diamond players, results in is some understandable inconsistency. This inconsistency can make climbing out of here a real fight, because some days you'll play like a high Ascendant player, whereas other days you might play like a low Platinum player. The flaw I see in many Diamond players is that they think they have to play the game to keep progressing, whereas that couldn't be further from the truth. If you instead of thinking about the hours you put in when playing at this skill level, think about the quality of the time you spend on the game, you will quickly, as a Diamond player, be able to reach the next rank in Valorant of Ascendant. Ascendant players do quite a lot better than Diamond players, but the main thing Ascendant players on average do a ton better is having good timing. They understand how and when to rotate quickly when playing defenders, and they understand when to take their opportunity when attacking. Now, this may sound like a super basic skill, but it's really not. Rotating in a fast manner comes down to good comms and a high level of game sense. You'll also find players in this rank with consistently good utility strategies, like lineups for example. Another common trait from players in Ascendant is that they take an active role in watching others play and learning good strats from professionals. Watching a lot of Valorant will subconsciously help you pick up on a ton of smart things you can adapt into your own game. In addition, this is also the rank where players often begin recording their own gameplay to reflect upon what they're doing good and what they're doing not so good. Watching yourself as well as others is a deadly combo to quickly progress up the ranks. Fine-tuning your weaknesses and understanding your strengths is something a lot of players start doing in high Ascendant. Then, when they reach Immortal, one thing is very prevalent that they do better, a skill that is so simple yet totally complex, and that is mastering the skill of patience. Patience and looking for good opportunities when playing is something you must do in the rank of Immortal. In Immortal, if you make one mistake, you're dead. So being able to be patient, even when the spike is ticking down on time, when you're left in a 1-on-X clutch, or when the team just wants to push the site again and again, is crucial if you want to succeed up here. On an even more advanced level, people in Immortal are able to use the minimap to a very high extent. Looking at the minimap here and there is one thing, but being able to analyze the minimap and make a calculated play because of what you're seeing is another. Immortal players also often tend to have the ability to play with any weapon to a high standard, unlike most of the other ranks where people are much better with one weapon than another. In the final rank in Valorant of Radiant, the players up here usually check a few boxes. They're able to communicate or receive communication at an impressively high level. Their fundamentals, I'm talking aim, game sense and movement, is so good to the point where mistakes nearly never happen. The skill difference of players up here comes down to unique abilities like calling high quality strategies with a combination of utility of the different agents, being able to read the team they're playing against, finding visible weaknesses and adapting their playstyle to that. And of course, just an inhuman level of game sense to the point where without seeing or hearing anything, they can get a feel of what the opponents are going to do. Guys, that will be it. Consider checking out my other videos on screen right now, and remember to go down to the description and give Buff Game a go.